Good evening and welcome back to this session of Wilmington City Council's Finance and Economic Development Committee meeting. It is Wednesday, April 22nd. We're in the middle of a series of budget hearings for the fiscal year 2021 budget presented by Mayor Michael Brzezicki. We just heard from the Mayor's Office of Economic Development, and next we're going to hear from the Department of Parks and Recreation. Just a couple of notes. As you know, the budget was prepared prior to the COVID-19 crisis. In the original budget, there is no tax increase, no increase in water sewer fees. We will hear from some of the department directors, though, of other budget lines that they're looking to cut in this fiscal year 21 budget. So we most likely will be offering a substitute ordinance when we come to voting time at the end of May, which we have to do by code. We have to pass the balanced budget. We will probably most likely also revisit this budget in the fall sometime once we realize the impacts of the COVID-19 crisis. But I will tell you, the administration and council will aggressively pursue any federal dollars coming into the state or into Newcastle County so that the city of Wilmington gets its fair share. We're going to follow the same format. First, we're going to hear from the Office of Management and Budget with a brief overview of the changes in this year's budget from last year. We will have a presentation by the director, and then we will jump right into questions and answers. We've allotted 90 minutes for this hearing. I'm going to ask council members once again to keep all their questions to budgetary matters. Any programmatic or constituent issues should be addressed in a different forum. For those people, citizens of the city of Wilmington that are watching or listening in, if you would like to make comment, there will be a period of time at the end of the hearing when you will have 3 minutes to comment on the budget we're discussing, that of Parks and Recreation. Okay, so at this time, I'm going to turn it over to the Office of Management. Oh, first I want to acknowledge the council members that are with us presently. We have President Hanifa Shabazz. We have council member for the 1st District, Linda Gray. Council member for the 3rd District, Santhia Oliver. Council member for the 4th District, Michelle Harley. Council member from the 7th District, Chris Johnson. We have 2 at-large members, Cyril Adams and Rashima Dixon. And we are also joined by the Chief of Staff for the Mayor's Office, Tandy Washington, and Chief of Staff for City Council, Michelle Bass Knight. So at this time, I'm going to turn it over to the Office of Management and Budget.
Good afternoon, Chairman Friel and council members. All right, so before we begin, just a reminder that the budget details that I'm presenting here are based on the original proposed budget, which was developed prior to the COVID-19 pandemic. Director Kelly will be discussing revisions during his presentation. And do we have the PowerPoint up? Great, thank you. All right, so the FY 2021 general fund budget for the Department of Parks and Recreation is $8.9 million, which is down nearly $136,000 or about 1.5% from the FY 2020 budget. Of that, personal services are up nearly $25,000 or 0.5%. Additionally, material supplies and equipment is up $27,000 or about 1.8%. Total staffing across all funds is 41 FTEs, 40.6 of which are in the general fund. And this is unchanged from FY 2020. Next slide. Okay, so to drill down a bit further on the major funding changes for FY 21, let's begin with personal services. For FY 21, we've included a placeholder 2% COLA. Combined with steps and related changes, this results in an additional cost of almost $60,000. Offsetting these salary increases are nearly $32,000 in net benefit savings. So the budget also includes two position changes. The deletion of a vacant labor foreman one for a savings of nearly $69,000, and the addition of a labor foreman two at an additional cost of nearly $80,000. This has no net impact on total FTEs. All right, moving on to MS&E changes, the largest of which are all in the William Hicks Anderson Community Center. So first, $50,000 has been added to contracted maintenance to maintain newly installed equipment following the center's renovation. And second, given improvements to the center's HVAC system, as well as the ongoing trend of lower overall electricity usage by the department, the electricity line has been reduced by $35,000. And third, $25,000 in consultants costs have been moved from the admin division to Hicks Anderson to provide youth family therapy services. And lastly, overall debt service has decreased by nearly $243,000. This is due to savings from the proposed refinancing of existing debt. Okay, this concludes my summary of the Department of Parks and Recreation's FY 2021 budget. If you have any questions, I'm happy to take them now.
Thank you. Kevin, did you have any opening remarks or introductions before we get started? Mr. Kelly?
Good afternoon. I'm here today joined by Wayne Jefferson, Deputy Director, and a few other people in the room. We're trying to practice the social distancing as best we can. And we're here live from beautiful downtown Southbridge. So I want to give a little overview of the department. The mission of the Department of Parks and Recreation is to provide comprehensive and quality programming that supports the holistic wellness of city residents by offering recreational, social, cultural, employment, and educational opportunities for all city residents, regardless of age or physical barriers. The priorities for myself is to increase the use of technology within the department, to make sure we have quality programs, and also create a standard of care for maintenance. A couple of performance measures we have is going back is to make sure that 50% of all of our recreation programs utilize technology to track participants and other programs that we do. For youth and families, it's trying to increase the number of non-governmental jobs for young people who are working by 20%. And with Hicks Anderson, we're trying to make sure that the programs that we offer there have about a 25% increase in utilization. And finally, maintenance, the mayor is one of his top performance measures to make sure I get the grass cut every 7 days. So that's just kind of a quick overview of the department. If you like, we can go right into the questions, whatever is easiest to do.
Kevin, as we mentioned, this budget was proposed before the crisis. Could you just talk about some of the budget lines that you're looking at for additional cuts, if necessary, due to the COVID-19 pandemic?
And I would, if I would just like to back up for 1 second, I'll answer that question. But the question was, what divisions have been impacted by COVID-19? Really, the entire department is, except for really the food program and really in maintenance as well, has been impacted. The COVID-19 has shut down all of our recreational programs. We had to cut our leagues early. We're not running any spring sports. We had to stop our annual recognition for all the young people. The YCD program is still going. The application stopped on Saturday. We have some maintenance people that are out because of COVID-19. We're doing our best to maintain the parks. But the one shining light within the department is the food program. Once we got notification that schools were closed, we ramped up our food program under leadership of Nicole Torrance and Victoria Fuentes Cox. And I'm pleased to report since March 17th, we have distributed 100,000 meals in the city of Wilmington. Right? We're taking care of the people every day. Our motto is lunch is rock. Mine is we have to feed the future. So with all going on, we also know that COVID-19 is going to impact our budget. So when I looked at our budget, I tried to look at some programs and some reductions that will not really impact services that much. So the first one is the Arts in the Park program in Delaware Nature Society. Currently, there's about $50,000 for both of those programs. In the Arts in the Park, I would eliminate the evening program where we have concerts in the park. The mayor is kind of have a hold on any activities above 100 people. So we would probably not do those this summer. Delaware Nature Society, we have a couple of dollars left in our budget that would be able to do that. Camp Barns, we have 4 different times that we go to Camp Barns a year. We take about 40 kids to Camp Barns. This would allow us to still have 2 trips to Camp Barnes, but again, we're not sure with social distancing whether we'll be able to put 40 young people in the bunks where we have them to go on a bus trip down to Camp Barnes. Some consultants, we have some consultants that are both within Parks and Rec in the administration. I have a consultant for $25,000 that we would remove. There's another consultant that's in Recreation Department that does some reviews of programs that we reduce, and 1 or 2 other small ones. The Hicks Building Services, and some of these are duplicative where you'll see we're asking for the money, but we also realize maybe we don't need them. In Hicks, that would be the contract with the company that oversees the city-county building, asset management, thank you, Wayne, to be able to come in and help us manage some of the day-to-day operations of Hicks with the HVAC system, the pool, and other things. In Hicks, we have a few vacant LSE positions. We have an outreach worker, summer camp director, and a rec specialist that are vacant. We believe that the existing program director can fill in that void with that program. It'll be very minimum impact. In recreation, we have some scorekeepers to keep score of games. We're trying to see if we can get volunteers to do that. The evening and summer and winter programs are impacted by the COVID. We would be reducing the number of parks opening in the summer at evening, probably from 5 to 2. We would also be adjusting some of the summer workers that we have. And the winter program last year, I think we ran about 10 winter recreation sites. They were staffed by a variety of LSEs, but some of them are not effective, and we would probably get down to about 5 to 6 different sites throughout the city. Maintenance, temporary agencies, the biggest group of expenditures in maintenance is temp agencies. We would reduce the number of temps who kind of work from the fall through the winter. That's kind of our all season. But we would take a $50,000 reduction there. In youth and families, currently the YCD program is funded for 8 months. We would cut 2 weeks of funding off of that. That would still allow the 400 something, over 450 people we'd like to work for 6 weeks in that program. And I'll talk a little bit about that a little bit later on. And then some other temporary salary reductions. The miscellaneous MSCs are just parts, supplies, t-shirts, trophies throughout the department that we feel that we can, as I say, take a haircut and reduce some of those items. The total of all were about $525,000.
Just let me say congratulations to your entire department for the food program. That's a pretty impressive number of meals.
Thank you. We appreciate it. Stop by one morning. It's a very interesting way of doing things, but everybody works as a team and we get the job done.
I actually have seen them out there in my travels. So, President Shabazz, do you have your hand up? President Shabazz?
Yes, I do. Thank you. Great job on the food program, and thank you for making sure our children in the city of Wilmington are fed with your efforts. One other question, in the reduction, where does that also, where in which line does the safe havens, does that affect the safe havens?
So the safe havens are the consultant line. We only have one safe haven, President Shabazz, that we fund, which is the program at YEP. And in consultation with the mayor and the chief of staff, we felt that was not a program we wanted to cut. So that safe haven that's in YEP in the 6th district will continue. All the other safe haven programs are funded by the state of Delaware.
Okay, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Councilmember Harley?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. Director Kelly, real quick question before you move forward. I noticed on slide 4 where you had a reduction in electricity. How, in pray tell, did you get a reduction in electricity?
We don't turn the lights on, and we have them LED lights. It's like at home, Councilmember Harley. I come in and turn the lights off. To be honest, a couple things. One, probably the line had a little bit more money than it needed. But you've got to remember, with the renovations, with your help and all the other council members, we were able to put all new LED lights in Hicks. So the energy usage is down. The last place I have is the gym and the pool, to replace them with LED lights. But the usage has been down through some efficiencies and getting some newer equipment in there. So that's why we're able to reduce the electric budget.
That's really awesome. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Let's go ahead and move forward. Discuss any current vacant positions you have and whether you plan on filling them.
I have a labor foreman 2 position that has been vacant since October, and it's proposed to be deleted in the 21 budget.
Okay. Discuss any proposed changes to positions, new positions, upgrades, title changes, anything?
Right, so we're proposing to delete the labor foreman 1 and add a labor foreman 2. Right now, I have 6 or 7 different workers within the Parks Department who report directly to one of the, to direct Superintendent Williams or 2 people underneath of him. I'm trying to create like a tech unit to put people who have similar job skills together and have them report to a labor foreman rather than directly to a supervisor.
Okay. Discuss the planned use of 1.2 million budgeted in temporary salaries.
So, and just to go through it at a very high level, these are all limited service employees in the administration. It helps me with some support for the capital budget. In recreation, they are the individuals who run the pools, the parks, the games, and all the items that support the recreation division. Hicks Anderson Community Center is those individuals who work in the center every day to help run it. Youth and Families, the large portion, that's probably $400,000 to $450,000, is for the YCD program, the summer youth program, but also has some educational employment people that we have, the Youth Leadership Corps, and a few other programs within there. But all those really support the programs of the city of Wilmington.
Kev, can you just talk, next series is about the summer youth jobs.
Sure.
Have budgeted, what other grants you're expecting corporations to help out?
So in the proposed budget is the 225 youth workers, which would be 360,000, some interns, some 10 work leaders that covers the additional costs from DOL, and some of the minimum wage. So right now, we want to ensure that all young people working make $10 an hour. We've began that with our year-round program. So there's some costs for that. But the 360 now, that was for eight weeks. If the proposals go through, it would now be for 6 weeks. But all told, we expect to hire 225 people with the city funds.
Okay.
And their ages 14 to 21. So the next is the grants. So we received $75,000 from the Bank of Delaware. They've been very supportive of this endeavor for years. It's a $15,000 increase from last year. And then the Department of Labor, which funds us for 2 programs, the summer and the all year long program, they're putting in about $204,000. And of that, there's about 25 people we will hire from outside the city and 128 from the city. And they're income eligible positions. There's some income limitations on those. And then it says, question number 4C. So Bank of America provided $65,000 and $75,000. They're the only real corporation that's directly sponsoring jobs for us.
Okay, and the last part, could you just touch whether there was any funding for the youth leadership program?
The youth leadership program, there's $23,500 for the director's salary, and about $7,000 we provide for food and clothing for the Wilmington Youth Leadership Program.
Councilmember Johnson, do you have a question?
Yes, thank you very much, Chairman. Director Kelly, I definitely I appreciate the work your department has been doing, especially around the youth programming. But just kind of looking at the youth summer program, I guess it was started in June. Are there plans right now that the model could be shifted to online, maybe a coding job or some kind of computer-oriented jobs if the kids can't go on site? Because I would hate to see the loss of jobs if they actually can't physically go to the sites and work.
Well, it's a great question. We had a conference call today with Department of Labor about some of the challenges us in the county face. We're looking to start the program June 29th, I believe it is, and run it for 6 weeks. So more or less run, or for 5 weeks, excuse me, for the whole summer, for the month of July. We've been reaching out to potential work sites to see if the ones from last year are willing to come back to do that. The opportunities that you talked about, there's a partnership that we're going to be doing with the warehouse who's applying for some grants through the state of Delaware to be able to hire young people to do coding, and especially female coders that we're looking to hire. The ability to be able to work off site for the summer is challenging. We did get approval for some young people to possibly work from home. There are some programs where young people can work from home. But to have everybody work remotely and things like that will be a challenge. But the coding is something we have been looking into.
Okay, great. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Councilmember Harley, do you have a follow-up question?
Oh, yes, I did. Yes, I think I heard Director Kelly mention Director of Youth Leadership salary. Are you talking about the director for the Youth Commission or director for the Summer Youth?
For the Youth Commission.
And does that salary, is that salary for the current salary and or the current salary with an increase?
Current salary. It's budget, the current budgeted salary. Remember, it's an LSE position. So it's not a full-time position. This is a limited service employee.
Understood. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay. Discuss the planned use of $414,000 budgeted professional fees for consultants and temporary agency costs. And at the conclusion of that, if you could provide us a list of the safe haven sites.
So within there, again, some of these numbers have been adjusted by the reduction. So the maintenance really is for the temporary employees that we hire. We hire 31 temps to be able to work at various times through the summer. We'll start them and run them from July to September and take off for October, probably through March. We have some others that come in, and then from April, but that funds about 31 temps that we use an integrity staffing for. The recreation is for to pay for the lifeguards, the evaluations, and the YEP program. I referred to that earlier. The $22,500 that we have a safe haven, that's included in that number, plus the evaluation component to review our recreation, our winter recreation basketball league, and some small other money. The money's in for youth and family is for SAT prep. We run 4 SAT prep sessions a year. And then in Wilmington Hicks Anderson Center, that was some money, $25,000 that was transferred from the administration unit to hopefully hire a family services counselor, therapist counselor for Hicks. But if the COVID reductions are taking place, that'll impact all of these items.
The list of safe haven sites.
Safe haven sites are on the next page. As I said, the only one that the city of Wilmington funds is the YEP program, the last one. The rest are all funded by the state of Delaware Kids Department. Now, we work collectively with all of those groups. We usually have young people working there, and we meet on a regular basis, but they're the listing of all the safe haven sites. And they're usually funded from September through December, but we'll see with the FY21 state budget whether they'll continue to be funded that long.
So all these sites for this summer would be in the fiscal year 21 budget for the state?
Yes, there'll be some There's some money left over. Here's what I'd like to do. Let me get you an update to find out exactly what the funding is for the safe havens and get that back to the committee.
And you haven't had any word from any state officials about the 21 funding, have you?
No, I've not heard anything at all about any adjustments to the budget, but you know, they're having some fiscal challenges just like we are.
Yes, they are. Okay. Could you talk a little bit about the budgetary costs for all the city pools, and also provide a list of locations for the spray parks?
So the city pools are listed, and again, we're looking to open up for 6 weeks this year, the same week of June, but we understand that the COVID-19 could seriously impact our ability to open pools this summer with social distancing, if that's still in effect, and large crowds of individuals being at pools. We're not sure what we'll really do, but we're moving forward with having the pools open. These are the 5 pools that we operate, and what the costs that are involved for each one of those. And then I think your next question was where the spray park's at.
Correct.
So they're at Father Tucker, Woodlawn, Helen Chambers, Brown, Judy Johnson, Mack, and Kosciuszko. The one at Woodlawn and Mack are being replaced. The one at Woodlawn is done. The one at Mack will be started on within another week or two. And we're working on trying to identify some funds that would help fix the spray park at Judy Johnson and Brown Park. I think Brown Park, we may have some funding from Representative Bolden and Senator Lockman for that spray park. But Judy Johnson, we may be seeking some funding to repair it.
Okay. Discuss the 286,000 budgeted miscellaneous services.
I mean, these are mostly, you know, for us, they're repairs to the building. Some of these are duplicative with the other numbers. For maintenance, it's repairs to different parts and equipment we have to do. Recreation are just some activities. In Hicks, that's the $50,000 for the hiring the individuals to help us with the building maintenance. The security contract is in there for the security guard and emergency repairs. And then youth and families, that dollar includes some funding for Camp Barnes.
Okay. Discuss the 177,000 budget miscellaneous materials, supplies, parts, and equipment line.
You know, most of these in maintenance, the largest portion of that money in the 76 is for mulch and landscaping and just other miscellaneous parts. Recreation, it's trophies, t-shirts, food that we procure, and t-shirts for individuals. The Hicks number, I think, I'll get back to Marshall. I think that number is a little inaccurate. That's just supplies that we need for Hicks Anderson, and the same for youth and families. They're just miscellaneous parts and equipment that we buy for the operations of each of those divisions.
Okay. Councilmember Gray. Councilmember Gray. We can't hear you. We can't hear you.
Okay, you can hear me now?
Yes, we can.
Yes, I can.
Okay, I'd like to compliment Commissioner Kelly with all the work he's done during the COVID and feeding the community and feeding all our kids, and also to him and to his department. But I'd like to address the maintenance, the parks part of your department. I don't have it on my screen now, but this maintenance you said is being used for maintenance of parks, mulch, other things like that?
Yes.
Okay. Well, I've been discussing for a year with you maintenance of the barriers between, I think it is Tatnall and Washington Street on Lee Boulevard. I mean, that's a main corridor. And I don't think they've been maintained for 20 years. So can that be part of your maintenance budget to take care of that?
Yes, and you've been on me very regularly about it every time I see you. We've made some corrections, but not enough. I really think that what needs to happen with the majority of those barriers is to take them out, because some of them don't serve any purpose. The ones that are near the storm basins really need to be fixed and corrected. I asked Mr. Williams to go back over again recently about getting them done. You've been very patient, and I haven't addressed your need. I'll be very honest with you. So I've got to get over and get that straightened out once and for all with you. But for those watching, we're talking about Matson Run, the area around Matson Run where there's a barricade that prevents people from getting into Matson Run, and more importantly, going down where some of the big storm drains are.
But specifically from Washington Street down to Tatnall, in front of the Department of Labor. Well, thank you very much for your future attention soon to this matter. Thank you.
Councilmember Oliver? Councilmember Oliver?
Yes, how you doing? Can you
We can hear you.
I can hear you. Now I can see you. There we go.
Now we can't hear you. Can't hear you.
I'm ready. Can you hear me?
There you go. You're good now. Yep, go ahead.
Okay, how's everybody doing? First, Commissioner, I wanted to thank you for the great work your staff did yesterday with assisting with us with our event. It really turned out very well. And thanks to Parks and Recreation for being on time as usual. I'd like to thank you and Wayne Jefferson. I just wanted to say that first. But secondly, I had a question in reference to, I see the parks that were listed. I didn't see anything for the park over 11th Street Bridge that we discussed with Carla about.
Johnston Park.
Correct.
So what we're going to do with Johnston Park, I met over there with the lady at all. You know, unfortunately, my capital dollars are gone. I have very little money left to try and take care of some existing projects. Hopefully we'll go to the bond market in the fall.
Okay.
But the state allows us to apply for 3 grants every year for $100,000 to help that needs to be matched by other funding sources. So I'll be coming to probably before council. I think in the middle of May, we have a meeting where I'll be asking the state for a $100,000 grant for Johnston Park. I think that will help us at least get some funding to be able to start some renovations for that park.
Okay, thank you.
Welcome.
I just wanted to know what to say when she gives me a call, because I know she wants me to follow up on it. Thanks a lot.
Have her glad to give me a call as well.
Okay, that's all I had the question for. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Councilmember Harley?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Director Kelly, what about Christina Park? I know for 2 years we've been talking about 2 things, you know, one, the risk factor as it relates to the pier, and then I have been made aware of the beautification part of it would take place when you go to the bond market, I guess the next year. So I guess I'm just asking, is that included in this 76,000?
Yeah, the 76,000 is just miscellaneous things that we need to do every day. You know, your pier is a very large capital item that when we go to the bond bill, I'll have some money for it. But you know, of the 3 bites of the apple, Councilmember Oliver got one, and you're going to get one too, because I'm going to put in a grant for $100,000 for Christina Park. Separate from the boardwalk, as I call it, the park does need some enhancements. It's a very well-used park. I call it the Schwinn Park. All the old heads and the OGs got their bikes. They're there every day, having a good time. And they need a nice park to be able to be in. The park has been around for a while, but I'm going to put in a grant for $100,000. That'll at least give us some money to be able to match and try and get a plan to try and make that park really a great, with the boardwalk, with the pavilion and the baseball field and everything else, and bring it back to life.
I really appreciate that, and I also appreciate your sentiments as well as mine, as it relates to who enjoys that park, and they're there year after year, the same people, and like I had shared with you, and we did the walkthrough together. You know, it's a matter of both a safety situation and as well as an opportunity for beautification. So thank you. Now, this grant that you're talking about, when do you typically apply for that?
So we have to send a letter in May to DENREC and indicating the parks that we want to be able to apply for. Usually then in late summer, early fall, we'll get an award. We've been very successful, with those grants. This year we've got one for East Lake, Sixton Madison. There's one other park off the top of my head that I can't remember. The other one is 100,000 for Kirkwood. So we have those 3 parks that we're working on, but we've been getting those grants pretty successfully. So hopefully we'll be able to get that one for Christine as well.
So, and my last question is this: so there's nothing that's going to take place on that pier between now and the time that you apply for the grant?
Correct. As I said, our capital dollars are dwindling. I just got hit with something with Cruise Park that I have to take care of, and a few other parks that we're trying to resolve. But if something changes, I'd be glad to discuss it. I still believe we would need some money from the state, would be very helpful to help make those dollars stretch a little bit further. I mean, from the state bond bill as well.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, discuss the planned use of 134,000 budget rentals and contracted maintenance account lines.
So in maintenance, it's, we have the GPS monitoring. We have some funds that council put a little while ago to be able to do some plumbing work on our fountains. We still have a lot of old fountains. One of our biggest expenditures of 35,000 is porta potties. We've got to have them around the city. I think we need to lock most of them up because sometimes they just become ways for people to do illegal activities. In recreation, we don't have the porta potties anymore. We have the facility rentals. That's for us to be able to use the gyms for the winter recreation programs, to rent the tables and chairs when council members need those for different events, and to do some training for the pools. At Hicks, it's mostly to help with the interior and exterior repairs of that building. And in youth and families, it's just some bus rentals for summer camp and for some facility use for the enrichment camp at the school that we're using there.
Okay. Discuss the planned use of 132,000 in overtime.
The overtime budget in maintenance, a large portion of that maintenance overtime is for special events. When we've got to roll the bandstand wagon out for different events, we're using overtime because it's on the weekends or after hours. And I would say probably 70% of that is for that purpose. That will probably change in light of COVID. I'm not sure how much use we'll have of the bandstand going forward for the summer. Recreation is just for a couple staff people who work a little overtime from time to time, and Hicks just for 1 or 2 staff people, I believe, there who work overtime.
Okay, discuss the planned use of 51,000 budgeted for community activities, and you could also talk about the outreach for your summer arts and your in the parks and your summer city cinema programs.
The Arts in the Park program, again, it's for 2 components. It's a daytime component. We contract with the Grand Opera House, where they come to a couple different parks in the city a few days a week and do some outreach. This week, one of the things we wanted to do is have a few different theatrical plays in a few different parks, especially at Helen Chambers, where for 2 weeks we would take a group of young people, kind of have them be ready to do a little play, and that play would be done in a park. And then the evening portion is where we're doing the music at 6 or 7 different parks like Kirkwood, 4th and Rodney, Stapler, the Parkway, and so forth. And then in Delaware Nature Society, that's where we take some young people from the camp at Camp Hope at Hicks to go to Delaware Nature Society for them to learn a little bit about nature. And the summer cinema is the movies in the park program, where we've got to pay for the licensing fee for all the movies that we show. And then the next portion of that is how we do it. We really need, we have advertising for the programs, but in many of the programs in the Parks Department, we need to do a better job of getting surveys and finding out what people think before they take part in a program and what they think afterwards. One of probably the most successful ones that we do, not to digress, is the college tour, where the young people are really happy to do that. But this Arts in the Park program, we need to probably measure a little bit better for its effectiveness. And I've worked more closely with Tina Betts from Cultural Affairs this year about how to make the program work better.
I just want to remind any of our viewers, if they do want to make comment at the end of the presentation, they should go ahead and raise their hand now so we can acknowledge them and give them their 3 minutes for public comment. The last question we have: discuss fiscal year 21 projected grant funds from the state of Delaware for the evening youth feeding program.
So the let's see. Child adult care food program. We expect to get a reimbursement of $488,277. That pays for our staff, the contract that we have for the vendor to be able to deliver the meals. And there's also the summer feeding program. We probably will provide that to council. That'll be starting. That really feeds young people for the summer. Right now, currently, we're in the summer program. We moved that up.
Once again, Kevin, on these programs where you receive some state funding, you haven't gotten any word yet that they might be cut in fiscal year 2021?
No, these are administered by the state, council member Field, but paid for by the federal government. I mean, reimbursed. We're reimbursed by the federal government. So the state kind of administers the program, but the Federal Department of Agriculture has done it. My gut is that, you know, if I had more capacity, I could give out 10,000 meals a day. I don't really think this one will be cut in light of all the needs for the food that we're going. We've been partnering with the food bank for a couple of different giveaways as well, but there is a huge need now for food in this city.
Okay. Like the other departments, the last page is his organizational chart, broken down into his 4 divisions.
Yeah, which just has, you know, the 4 divisions of 41 people. You know, to thank my staff, you know, here, they're listening. You know, we do an excellent job with a little bit of resources that we have. We're trying to rethink every day of how to address the needs of young people, their parents, their grandparents, and everyone else in the city. But you can see the org chart that's listed here for the 4 divisions that I have, and Ms. Ferguson, who keeps us all straight every day, Katrina Woody, who does the fiscal, and myself, and Mr. Jefferson, who keeps me straight, which is a full-time job, brother. You know that. Once again, I know I want to thank you and your whole team, because I do think the parks are looking much better. And anytime I've had individual issues, you folks have always been very responsive. So I appreciate that. I'm not seeing any questions or any comments from the public. I'm not seeing any questions from council members. So this will conclude our hearing for the Department of Parks and Recreation. I thank you guys for coming in and answering all our questions and helping prepare us for as we try to deal with this crisis situation. Thank you, Councilmember Field. Thank you. Yes, sir. I did want to go ahead and make the announcement. We do have another budget hearing tomorrow night. It'll be the 3rd one of this week. We will start at 4 o'clock with the audit department. At 4:45, we will do the human resource department. And then at 6:30, we will have the law department. On Monday, April 27th, we will start at 4 o'clock, but we have, I believe, 3 pieces of legislation that we will have to review in committee and vote out for future council meetings. Then we will hear the budget for the finance department and the Office of Information Technology. One week from tonight, Wednesday, April 29th, we will hear from the Planning and Development Department and the Public Works Department. And then on Monday, May 4th, we will have our, which we do on an annual basis, we will have our presentation of the Water Sewer Fund and their 6-year financial plan. And that, once again, is presented from Public Works. So I thank all my council members, my colleagues, for participating this evening, and for those in the public who have viewed these hearings, much appreciated. And this concludes this meeting of Wilmington City Council's Finance and Economic Development Committee meeting.